Hi, you guys. Welcome to your ultimate guide for losing belly fat for women. I am Donzhae. I am a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach, and I am the founder of Revamping Physiques and the CEO. So today we are going to be having some fun. We're going to be talking about belly fat. Yes, so many people have questions about belly fat. They don't know what to do. They feel like it's always going to be there. They just feel like they just don't have any control. Today we're going to be diving deep, and you're going to get that control back. You're not going to have any questions about belly fat by the end of this mini course, and you're going to know exactly what to do. You're going to have the tools and everything you need to start losing weight. I'm going to walk you through it, and I'm going to hold your hand all the way through. And I just want to mention that I am also a mom of four. Yes, I have four kids, so I know firsthand how it is dealing with belly fat, okay? So I know exactly how it is to feel like you're busy, you don't have any control over your life, you feel like you're too busy, you can't, do anything, you just want to give up. I'm here to tell you, do not give up. I am going to walk you through everything, and that's why you're here. I'm delivering the information that you need to start losing that belly fat. So we are going to be talking about science-backed strategies. I'm not going to get all sciencey because I'm going to keep it simple for you guys to understand, but you're going to have all the information, all the tools, everything that you need by the end of this mini course. And also don't forget to download that PDF checklist, okay? That is an extra tool and actually a bonus for you to make sure you are on track. So what we're going to be learning is the truth about belly fat and why it's so stubborn. Yes, intermittent fasting and nutrition strategies, strength training for fat loss and body toning, and lifestyle habits that make a real difference, okay? That is just some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. That is just going to sum everything up, but we're going to be getting down to the bone. We're going to be getting down to the nitty-gritty. We're going to be talking about all of it, okay? So if you're someone that has been struggling with belly fat, you're not alone. I've been there. We all know someone that has been there who's struggling with body fat. There's so many people dealing with belly fat, okay? When I say belly fat, this is also another bonus for you guys because we're also going to be talking about losing fat all over your body. So this is going to be weight loss tools as well, not just belly fat. So you're getting more bang for your buck here. So this guide is designed to help you burn fat, boost your metabolism, feel confident in your body, okay? This is not just going to change your body, it's just going to change your life, your mindset, how you feel about yourself, your self-esteem. This is going to be an overall changer for you guys. So this is going to be very important. And we're going to be talking about everything without extreme dieting or endless cardio, okay? So I know that, some of us have seen influencers that seem like they have the perfect body, the perfect life. They're always eating healthy. They're always weighing their food, but we're not going to be doing this, okay? We're going to be making this so simple because we're busy women. We're busy moms. We don't have time to do all of that. And it is so possible to lose that weight, to lose that belly fat without being so extreme and so hard on ourselves. So we're going to be getting into that today. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's break down what we're going to be actually discussing today so you guys know what we're getting into. So we're going to be talking about, like I said, the truth about belly fat, understanding belly fat, the power of intermittent fasting. Ooh, that's my favorite. Nutrition and macros, all in one chapter. So that's a lot of information. We're going to be talking about strength training and movement, lifestyle habits for a lean stomach, staying motivated. Okay, that is also my favorite. So, like I said, mindset is going to be an important factor when it comes to anything that you do. So, we're going to be talking about mindset strategies. Okay, have not yet downloaded my 5-minute mindset shift ebook, please go ahead, of course, after this mini course and download that ebook. That's going to be packed with information that you will need to start your fitness journey, and that is a free ebook just for you, okay? Moving right along, we're going to be talking about the biggest myths about losing belly fat. So I'm going to be sharing some myths and facts with you. We're not going to be wasting any more of our time. We're not going to be doing anything that does not serve us any purpose anymore. We're going to be doing everything that we need to do to actually see results, okay? We're going to be talking about food intolerances, allergies, and bloating. That is so important. I can't wait till we get to that module because this is something that is not talked about a lot. And we're also going to be discussing the role of nutrition, what to eat and what not to eat. Also, so important. So let's go ahead and move right along. Let's talk about the truth about belly fat. So Belly fat, poor diet, stress, hormones, especially cortisol, okay? Cortisol is a stress hormone. Genetics and aging contribute to fat accumulation, especially in the midsection. So we have two types of fat. We have subcutaneous fat, which is the fat that sits beneath the skin, acting as a cushion or an energy reserve. So that fat is actually there to protect us to a certain extent, okay? So that fat is good fat. And then we have visceral fat. So visceral fat is the more dangerous fat. So visceral fat surrounds the organs and is more harmful, okay? That increases inflammation and disease. This type of fat acts like an endocrine organ, releasing hormones that affect metabolism, insulin sensitivity, and inflammation. So let's talk about these two types of belly fat. So if you ever seen someone who was a skinny fat, or someone who say, I lost a lot of weight, but it's so hard for me to lose this stubborn fat. Why can't I lose this fat? So that is actually visceral fat that they still have surrounding their organs, which is the most dangerous. But luckily, visceral fat is the easiest to target. You lose that first. You lose that when you sweat out or you urinate. The visceral fat is the first to come off when you're losing weight. So that is a good thing. Where the subcutaneous fat can sometimes be a little more hard to lose, which is why we have that belly pooch. That's going to be our subcutaneous fat, the one that you can actually pinch. And then when we talk about poor diet, stress, hormones, and things like that, our gut says a lot about us. So our gut can, show us that we're too stressed or we're eating something that we're allergic to, which is what we're going to be diving into in the near chapters. That we have high cortisol levels, our sleep plays a huge role in our belly fat. So our belly fat is here is actually telling us a lot about ourselves and telling us that we need to make some changes, okay? And that's why we're going to be diving deep into learning about belly fat today. So we're moving right along. So another thing, weight loss doesn't eliminate fat cells. So fat cells shrink when you lose weight, but they don't disappear, which can cause fluctuations in belly appearance. So have you ever lost some weight and just feel like, oh my God, today my stomach is so flat, and then you eat a big meal over the, 5 days, and you're like, what just happened here? Like, my stomach was just flat. I don't know what's going on. Like, I feel like I'm getting fat again. What is going on? That is because your fat cells actually stay. They don't go away. They don't disappear. They shrink down. They shrink, they shrink, they shrink when you lose weight. But when you start gaining weight and eating bad, they actually grow back. So that's why it's so much easier to gain weight and get that belly, that belly pudge again when you start eating back bad, because your fat cells actually stay there. We're also going to talk about lifestyle. Okay, so lifestyle affects your belly fat. So factors, again, like stress, sleep quality, and diet play a huge role. Okay, so this means that small changes can have a huge impact on fat reduction. So say we only sleep like 4 hours, we can start sleeping 6 hours, and eventually it won't be the next day. Your belly won't be flat the next day, but eventually you'll start noticing that you'll be less stressed. What happens when we're stressed? When we're stressed, we like to go in our pantry, go in the refrigerator, reach for the next snack, because that is what's comforting us, okay? So when we reduce the cortisol levels and the stress by sleeping, okay, there's many other factors, and again, we're going to get to it in the upcoming chapters. But when we reduce our cortisol levels, when we reduce our stress, that in turn is actually going to help us lose the fat, lose the belly fat. So we're going to start being kind to ourselves, practice stress management, start journaling, writing stuff down, okay? I'm going to start doing those things to actually help us drop those pounds off. Because believe it or not, stress is the number one factor when it comes to fat and how your body stores fat. So if you're super stressed, you're more likely to be bigger. If you're stressed, you're bigger. And the bigger you are, the more stressed. So it's like a hamster wheel. It's like a cycle. The more stressed you are, you're going to keep eating, you're going to keep getting bigger, okay? So the first thing that we need to do is focus on stress, okay, and sleep. So if you need to see a therapist, I see a therapist myself. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's very, very, very beneficial. So if you need to see a therapist, start journaling, like I said, and writing things down. That's going to play an important role when it comes to losing our fat, and not just our belly fat, but of course we're we're pinpointing our belly fat, but this is going to play a crucial role. This is going to be so important when it comes to losing belly fat. Moving right along, module 2, understanding more about belly fat, more information for you guys. So let's talk about it. Belly fat affects more than just appearance, okay? Visceral fat is metabolically active, believe it or not, and lifestyle choices play a key role, like I just mentioned. So, belly fat, it doesn't just impact that appearance, it impacts your overall health by disrupting metabolism, increasing inflammation, and raising risk of diseases like diabetes and heart issues. Okay. Like I said, the visceral fat is the fat that actually surrounds your organs. So that is going to be so vital. That's going to play into your cortisol levels. And like I said, when we think about belly fat, we're not just thinking about, how we look. It's not just cosmetic. Our belly fat is actually one of the areas that tell us a lot about ourselves. So the flatter your stomach is, the more lean, of course, the more healthy you are. And studies have shown that the leaner you are, the more happier in life you are, the lower your cortisol levels are. Now, that depends, of course, on person to person, but that's just the overall study. So, visceral fat is metabolically active, so it functions like a chemical factory, releasing hormones and inflammatory agents that contribute to insulin resistance and chronic health problems. So that ties back into what I just said. So if it's releasing stress hormones like cortisol, that's going to make us more stressed, and that's going to just turn us in that hamster wheel. We're going to have insulin resistance, which means it's going to be hard for us to lose weight. Okay, so the more fat we have, the more hard it is for us to lose weight because we're still stuck in that, that mindset of being stressed and eating bad. That's really going to cause us some problems. And lifestyle choices play a key role. So managing belly fat isn't just about calories. Factors like intermittent fasting, which we're going to talk about, proper nutrition, and daily habits greatly influences fat loss and health. Okay, we're going to be diving deep about that in the near chapters, but I feel like I discussed a lot of those things already. We haven't discussed counting calories, but of course, we're going to discuss that in the near modules. But intermittent fasting is a great way to lose belly fat. The proper nutrition, daily habits, we're going to be diving deep into those things. Okay, moving right along, let's talk about intermittent fasting. I said this is one of my favorite modules because this is what actually helped me keep off my fat. And I'm a foodie. I love to eat, and believe it or not, intermittent fasting does not focus on what you eat, it focuses on when you eat. So let's talk about it. So, like I said, intermittent fasting is an eating pattern that cycles between fasting and eating periods. So there's various methods of intermittent fasting. So you have the 16-8 method, where you fast for 16 hours and eating within an 8-hour window. Also, with that, you can do things like a 17-7 method. You can do the 20-24 method. You don't actually have to strictly do the 16-8 method, but that's where I started personally. Some people like to start with the 12-12. So they fast for 12 hours, and that's easier because you're sleeping. Hopefully, you're sleeping for about 8 hours a night. And then you go on throughout your day getting ready for another 4 hours, and then you don't eat until after 12 hours. So that's a good place to start. If you have trouble snacking at night, that's a good way to start because that's going to eliminate the snacking time. You're going to stop at like 8 o'clock. You're going to stop eating, and then you won't eat again until 8 a.m. And then you have the 5-2 diet, where you're eating normally for 5 days a week and restricting calorie intake to around 500 to 600 calories on 2 non-consecutive days. That's also another great option. I've never tried that. A lot of my clients do try that. Some of them actually do like that because they just like to have the freedom during the week, and then they just restrict on 2 days only. Then you have alternate day fasting, fasting every other day or consuming very few calories on fasting days. That's also another great option. And then let's talk about OMAD. Okay, so OMAD is 1 meal a day, and it's exactly how it sounds. You're going to eat one large meal a day, and then you're going to fast for the remaining 23 hours. So it doesn't have to be 23 hours. If it takes you an hour and a half to eat the large meal, that's perfectly fine. So you're going to be consuming a large meal a day. So let's say that large meal consists of like 1,500 calories, and then you're going to not eat for the rest of the day. Or you can do 2 meals a day, which is my favorite. I just transitioned from the 16-8 method unknowingly. Like I didn't plan to do this, but I was doing the 16-8 method where I stopped eating at 6 p.m. and I didn't eat until 10 a.m. the next morning. So I was so busy in my day that I actually didn't eat at 10 a.m. I started eating at like 12 p.m., 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. I just found with the 16-8 method, I wasn't really hungry. I wasn't as hungry because I was used to eating later in the day. So I wasn't really hungry. So then I would be burning those calories, burning for 18 hours. And then I would have a 6 hour window. And believe it or not, that's what made me start eating 2 meals because I'm just like, it's too much for me to eat. Like I can't eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner now because I'm going to be too full. I can't include my snacks. So I started eating 2 large meals per day. And that actually helped me lose more weight and keep it off. And like I said in the beginning, it doesn't strictly focus on what you eat, but it focuses on when you eat. So I'm not saying that during your eating window, you should go for pizza, ice cream, cakes. You should still eat nutritious meals, but it's not really that important. So that's why I say intermittent fasting is such a great thing because you are burning a lot of your stored fat. You're burning the visceral fat, the subcutaneous fat. You're burning all the fat when you're fasting. So when you wake up and you're walking around, you're getting the kids ready, you're getting ready for work, that takes a lot of energy. So believe it or not, most people don't think that you burn calories. They don't know that you burn calories when you're just standing up, like when you stand up or turn around. So everything that you do, your body actually needs energy. When you're doing things like getting ready, those things that you do, shoveling out the car or putting gas in the car, those little things, you're burning calories. And because you didn't eat yet, you're burning stored calories. You're not burning the food that you just ate. So that's the perfect thing about intermittent fasting. So go ahead and give this a try. And like I said, you don't have to start with the harsh method first. Some people think that the 16-8 is harsh. Start with 12. Fast for 12 hours, stop eating at 8 o'clock, go to sleep, and then don't eat until 8 o'clock. See how that feels. People usually say that that's generally easy for them. So then they go up to 13. They fast for 13 hours. You can get creative. It doesn't have to be the 16-8 or the 17-7. You can get creative with these things. But like I said, intermittent fasting is a great way to help your body lose weight and burn that stored fat. That's the easiest way. And I always talk about weight training or working out when you're fasted because that's going to help your body lose weight. I'll say like 2 times faster without even being dramatic. That's going to help you lose weight 2 times faster when you're eating in fasted state, okay? And then right after your workout, sometimes people might be hungry. So you can just eat right after your workout. Me personally, I like to wait another hour because I'm not hungry. And I believe the 16-8 method helped me not be hungry. I don't think it's a placebo effect, honestly. But I'm just not hungry. I'm thinking about burning those calories, burning off the extra fat that I have in my body. Yes, I still have some things that I'm still working on. We all have things that we're still working on. I just like to have the thought of me burning calories while I'm getting the kids ready for school. Like, who doesn't like that? I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone, okay? So there's multiple benefits with intermittent fasting. Like I said, it boosts fat loss, preserves muscle while burning fat. That's another thing. So instead of just not eating for one whole day, and like I said, we're focusing on when we eat, that in turn is actually going to, for those who think about toning up, who love to tone, who love to weight train, that is going to help our bodies keep that muscle, retain that muscle, not lose the muscle. Because when you lose too much muscle, you in turn start to look skinny fat, and we don't want that, okay? And like I said, it enhances metabolism. That is also a great thing. Some people think you have a slow metabolism. You're born with a slow metabolism. Your mom, your dad, your grandma, everybody has a slow metabolism. So now you're cursed with a slow metabolism. That is actually not true. You can change your metabolism, and many people don't know that. So no, you're not cursed. It also reduces inflammation and improves digestion and brain function. So, like I said in the beginning, when you lose weight, this is not just affecting your appearance, this is also going to affect your brain health, your heart health. This is going to improve your entire body. And in doing so, we can show these things to our children, show them that there's a more healthy way to live, a more healthy way because we only got one life. Okay, so we're gonna live it to the fullest. We're gonna live our healthy life. Okay, we're not gonna be miserable anymore. We're not gonna be depressed anymore because we don't know what to do. We're gonna start taking control over our minds and our bodies. We are doing that today, and that's what I'm gonna teach you in this module. Let's go ahead and move on to module number 4. Let's talk about nutrition and macros made simple. So we're going to start focusing on portion control over calorie counting. So what you need to know is that you don't need to track every single calorie to lose weight. Instead, what you can do is follow the plate method where you focus on portion sizes and you make smart food swaps. Like, say for instance, you swap out white rice and you do cauliflower rice instead. That's a good option because cauliflower rice has very low calories compared to white rice. That can be just as effective. And me personally, I do not count calories. I don't weigh my food. I don't do those things unless I hit a plateau where, I'm just staying the same. Like I look the same. I don't really focus on the scale too much. We're going to dive into that later down in the upcoming chapters, but I don't step on the scale. I just focus on how my clothes fit, how I look in the mirror, and I also do bi-weekly photos. I look at my bi-weekly photos, and if everything looks the same month to month, that's when I start to focus on the calories and I start counting the calories, because when you do count calories, that's actually going to pinpoint, where you're making errors in your diet. But especially when you're first starting off, you don't need to track your calories. So as long as you are focusing on smart food swaps and you're swapping out, pizza, like things that that are unhealthy, you're going to swap out those foods for more healthy foods, and you will definitely 100% guarantee see a difference when you start focusing on portion control and eating the foods that your body needs. So we're going to talk about macronutrients, and macronutrients are key for fat loss and health. So your macronutrients are going to be the nutrients that you consume that your body needs for daily function. So macronutrients are your protein. Proteins is going to help you build muscle and preserve muscle. Your fats is going to help with energy levels and brain health, and your carbs is also going to help with energy levels. So none of those macronutrients needs to be cut off. I know there's a lot of people that say, carbs are unhealthy, or they think that fats are unhealthy. Those things do not need to be cut off. Sometimes, yes, you can restrict them, but we're going to keep those things, all 3 of those macronutrients in our diet, because they are so vital, they are so important, and neither of those macronutrients are more important than the other one. So like I said, your protein builds muscle, carbs provide energy, and healthy fats, okay? Healthy fats like your olive oil, your peanut butter, things like that. Not things like cookies and, cheeses. Those things are more unhealthy. And believe it or not, they're higher in calories. Your fats are higher in calories than your proteins and your carbs. So that's why some people go low fat diet, okay? But when you go too low in diet, when you go too low in fat, you start to feel more sluggish, and that may not be healthy. So you have to pick a spot where you're more comfortable and you're listening to your body. You're going to the doctor and you're getting those blood draws to see if your levels are in a healthy balance. Okay, so that's going to support your hormones, balancing them, and optimizing weight loss. So like I said, we're not going to cut any of those macronutrients off. We are just going to restrict if need be. We're going to play with things at first to see how our body reacts. We're going to minimize the fats and the carbs if need be. So we're not going to be consuming a lot of those things. We need to be prioritizing protein, which is the most important when it comes to losing weight. With the more muscle that we have, the more fat our body burns when we're, not only just working out, but when we're moving around and stuff. The muscle is the most important, and we need to prioritize that by eating enough protein. So that needs to be the most on our plate when we're focusing on portion control or portion sizes, and we're using our plate to, see how much we're eating. The biggest thing on your plate needs to be the protein source, which will be the chicken or the salmon or the steak or the tuna. That needs to be the main thing that's on your plate, followed by, your fats. You can use olive oil to prepare that chicken or the steak or the meat. And if you're vegetarian, there's also vegetarian options. I'm also going to share some of those as well. But the protein is going to be the main source, and then your carbs, something like your quinoa or your russet potatoes, your sweet potatoes, that can be the smaller portion. But the smallest portion on your plate needs to be the fat, because we're gonna like lower the amount of fat that we're using, because like I said, fat has the most calories per gram versus the other two macronutrients. Okay. So speaking of that, we're going to be talking about balanced macros, enhanced intermittent fasting. So eating protein rich, like I said, meals, healthy fats, and fiber packed carbs make fasting easier, reduce craving, and supports fat loss. So how many of you eat a banana and say, I'm still hungry? Because if I go ahead and I eat a banana, I start to feel full really quick. And why is that? That's because a banana is high in fiber. So foods that are high in fiber and high in protein is going to keep us fuller longer. So if we're using intermittent fasting and when we're done fasting and it's time for us to eat, if we have a meal that's high in protein and high in fiber, high in macronutrient rich foods like healthy fats and healthy carbs, if we have a balanced diet that's high in those things, like a healthy balanced diet, we're going to feel fuller longer. So now we can go another 3 to 4 hours without eating. It's perfectly okay, because I know some people say that you should be eating every 2 hours. I say you should listen to your body. If you're not hungry, don't force yourself to eat. If you're not hungry, if you start to get full before you finish your plate, stop eating. Maybe save it for later, okay? That's going to be very beneficial when it comes to weight loss. So putting everything that we have together so far, the macros and the intermittent fasting, and we're eating more healthy meals when we're in our eating window, that in turn is going to help us lose our weight faster, lose our belly fat faster. Okay, so let's go ahead and move right along to chapter 5. We're going to be talking about strength training and movements. Now, these things are so important when it comes to losing weight, losing our belly fat, most importantly. So strength training reshapes your body and boosts your metabolism. Now, some people think that it's all about cardio. You need to do cardio, cardio, cardio. You need to be a cardio queen to lose weight. But I'm here to say that's not true. Actually, steady state cardio like swimming and walking actually helps you burn that stored fat. So when you do like HIIT workouts or you're running for a long time, that actually burns off the food that you just ate first before it targets the stored fat. So if you pair strength training with steady state cardio like walking, that's going to help your body burn fat, lose weight, lose that belly fat really, really fast. So like I said, it helps you burn fat, build lean muscle, and increase calorie burn long after workouts, making it more effective than cardio alone. I always say the more muscle you have, the more easier it is for you to lose weight. So if your goal is to lose belly fat, don't just focus on doing crunches and things like that. You want to focus on doing strength training. You want to strength train your whole body. Don't be afraid to pick up those weights and train your arms. Go hard on your arms. Pick up those 15-pound dumbbells and do some hammer curls. Don't be scared to do that. I know a lot of women think that you'll get bulky like a man, but us women do not have enough testosterone to build that much muscle. And actually, it's very hard to build a lot of muscle. And that's why a lot of bodybuilders take steroids, because it's not that easy. So like I said, I want you to focus on building muscle first before you start doing a lot of cardio. Focus on building muscle and doing HIIT training. You don't necessarily have to pick up weights, because you can train with just body weight. That's also a good option, doing HIIT workouts. There's a lot of different ways that you can, like I said, get creative, make it fun. You should always have fun when it comes to working out. Like, it shouldn't be something like, oh my God, I got to do this again. No, you should be excited, excited to work out. And of course, when you first start, you'll have that drag where, oh my God, this is, I don't want to do this, because your body is not used to doing it. So your subconscious mind is just like, we don't want to do this. Let's just not get up. So of course, in the beginning, you feel like you have that drag where you don't want to do it. But I promise you, in the long run, the more you do it, give yourself about 4 weeks to create that habit. We need that habit, okay? We need the habit to create the habit. And we're going to start enjoying working out, believe it or not. So just give yourself time. Don't feel like, okay, it's been a week and I feel like, why am I not loving this? Give your body time. Be nice to yourself. And there's a lot of people that struggle to go to the gym because they're intimidated by the strong men or the strong women there. They're intimidated by all the machines, they don't know what to do. That's why me personally, I love to work out at home. You can wear what you want to wear at home. You could do whatever you want to do. You don't have to worry about people looking at you, for those who have anxiety or just worried about all the wrong things when you go to the gym. You can do it at home. You don't need big, heavy weights to strength train. You don't need it. And I actually have a lot of workout videos on my YouTube channel that you guys can follow. But yes, focus on strength training. That is my absolute favorite. I'm not saying you should skip cardio, because cardio is going to help with heart health. But you don't have to run every day. You can do steady state cardio like walking after your strength training. And of course, if you pair this with what we talked about before, like the intermittent fasting, you're going to get more bang for your buck. So you're going to get there so much quicker. Like I said, I'm dropping those jewels. I'm dropping everything. I'm giving you the tea. We're going down to the bone today. We're also going to be talking about compound movements, engaging your core. So exercises like squat, deadlifts, presses naturally strengthens your core, eliminating the need to do endless crunches. Let's talk about it. I, as a personal trainer, I have not did an ab workout. I do ab workouts like once every couple of months. Like I say, okay, this week I'm going to focus on abs. But honestly, after my workouts, my strength training sessions, like my squats or I'm doing deadlifts, when you engage your core, you're going to act like you have like a belt. And if it helps, I want you to actually wear a belt, wear something that's going to keep your stomach tucked in. So when you exhale, or you feel like, or you're not squeezing your stomach in, you're going to feel the pressure from the belt. If you wear a belt, that's going to force you to keep your core engaged. And after your workout session, like the next day, you're going to feel those muscles in your abs. You're going to feel that you actually worked your abs. So if you engage your core in every exercise that you do, that's going to help you get that six pack, help you lose that belly fat. So you can do things like squats, deadlifts, anything. Actually, every exercise that you do engages your core. So even if you're doing hammer curls or a chest press, you're going to keep your core engaged, and that is going to eliminate the time that you need to do crunches. Now, I'm not saying that crunches are bad. Crunches are not bad. Ab exercises are not bad, because that actually is going to build your core muscles, but they're not actually needed, especially if you're just, focused on how you look and you want to just lose the belly fat and you're not really focused on, getting strong, at least at first, because it's actually good to train your core. You want to have that strong core, because that's the foundation. That's what's going to help us with stability and our overall strengths. But just to begin with, we're trying to save time. We don't have time to put in another extra 10 minutes to focus on our core. We could just keep our core engaged with every workout that we do. I want you to keep that in mind, because that actually is going to help us strengthen our core. Especially if we're strength training like 4 to 5 times a week. When we're engaging our core in each exercise, that's going to be a lot, and that's going to help us build our core. So like I said, I don't isolate my abs. I'm going to start soon. I always tell myself I'm going to start next week, but I still have a six pack. Like, I still have abs, and I don't focus on, isolating my core. That's because I keep my core engaged. Like I said, I started off with wearing a belt or a waist trainer to really help keep my core engaged. We're going to talk about waist trainers at the end of the module, but I only use the waist trainer to help keep my core engaged and help keep my posture straight. Let's talk about walking. So daily movements, walking at least 8,000 steps per day helps maintain metabolism, improve digestion, and enhance overall health. Let's talk about moving, okay? So I know a lot of people say, I don't have time to take 8,000 steps. Like, that's going to take me like 3 hours to walk. You can break it up. Like, after breakfast, you can walk 10 minutes. After lunch, you can walk 10 minutes. On your break, you can walk 10 minutes. And believe it or not, those little bit of steps that you take actually add up. I use my Apple Watch to track my steps, and that really helps me keep motivated, because by the end of the day, if I don't have my steps, I like to go on a small walk. And that actually helps me, know where I'm at. And through the week, I can see, some days I did better. Some days I didn't do so good. And it's not always so good to say, okay, I only got 5,000 steps yesterday. I need to make that up the next day. You don't want to punish yourself. Just notice where you messed up at. I don't want to say messed up, but, notice the difference that you had the previous day and say, okay, I'm going to make this change. I'm going to make a change today. I'm going to take some more steps. I'm going to actually get up and walk on my break versus just sitting down and talking on the phone. I could talk on the phone while I'm walking. That's really going to help you. Another thing that I like to do, or that I always tell my clients to help you get the steps in, because you might feel like it's a lot to do. When you go to the grocery store, park at the further end of the parking lot, and that's actually going to force you to walk inside the grocery store, take a longer walk inside the grocery store, and a longer walk back. If you work a desk job, I know a lot of people work a desk job and they say it's so hard because I'm sitting all day. But again, what you can do is park at the further end of the parking lot, and that's going to force you to actually walk like 5 minutes to your job and walk 5 minutes back. And if you take a lunch break in your car, that's going to be a lot of walking that you're going to be doing, a lot of walking back and forth that you're going to be doing. And of course, the further you park, the better. While you're at work, you can walk to the further end bathroom. You can walk to the bathroom that's further on your lunch breaks. Instead of sitting down, talking on the phone, go for a walk, do some laps around the building, go for a walk, call your friend, call your mom, call somebody on the phone that's going to help you take your mind off the time, because believe it or not, 30 minutes go by very, very quickly. And you know that because you're taking a break and you're like, where did time just go? I just sat down. So go ahead and take that 30-minute walk when you're on your lunch break. And those little things are going to add up so much. And by the end of the day, since we're so busy, by the time you get home, you might have, 6,000 calories. And, getting the kids ready for bed or doing your nightly routine might make up the other 2,000 steps that you have missed. Okay, so that's another tip for you. Fitness is a long-term lifestyle. So consistency in strength training and movement leads to lasting results, not just quick fixes. And that is so true. Like I said, you need to create the habit. You need to be consistent. With consistency comes dedication. And eventually you're going to say, I can't live without strength training. I can't live without this. This is my life. This is something that I love to do. So even if there's days that your brain is just saying, I don't want to do this, at least just show up. At least you showed up, go to the gym. And even if you're just sitting there looking at everybody, at least you showed up. And tomorrow, you could actually do some work, but at least you showed up. And, just being consistent and telling yourself, we got this, even on days where you don't want to do it. Still get up and do it. Fight your brain, because your brain is not used to those things. Your brain is not used to getting up, having to work. And that's why you feel like, I don't want to do this. But you need to fight your subconscious mind sometime, because your subconscious mind is going to try to make those decisions for you, and it's going to go with what your mind knows. Still go even when you don't feel like it, even when it's, one of those days where you just want to take it slow. Just show up, take it slow. The next day or the next week, you're going to be on the right track. Moving right along to module number 6, we're going to be talking about lifestyle changes for a leaner stomach. So losing belly fat isn't about quick fixes. It's about daily habits that add up over time. So nutrition, stress levels, hydration, and sleep play a critical role in fat loss. So let's talk about hydration. Many people love to skip these things. So drinking water before meals reduces cravings, improves digestion, and supports fat loss. So I drink water before my meals. I drink 8 ounces of water before I eat dinner or before I eat lunch. And I also drink water in between meals. So I take a few sips in between meals that actually going to help me slow down my eating. I'm actually chewing my food. I'm not swallowing. Really eat slower. But we're talking about that. Another tip, when you're eating, put the phone away. Don't eat in front of the TV, because then it's going to turn into mindless eating, where you're just eating because you're watching TV. You're not really focusing on your food. You need to focus on what you're eating. You need to enjoy what you're eating. You need to appreciate your food. You're going to eat slower. You're going to take some sips in between your meals, and that's going to help you be more full. That's going to help with digestion. That's going to help you feel fuller longer, okay? Let's talk about alcohol reduction. Alcohol slows metabolism and causes bloating. It leads to overeating. So you're going to swap for natural alternatives. So with alcohol, I know some people struggle with cutting out alcohol. If you drink every day, first you're going to start off with just changing it to every other day, and then eventually only drink on the weekends, then eventually only have one drink per week. Because alcohol, I want to say alcohol is not bad itself. It can be bad, especially if you're abusing it. Anything that you abuse is bad. But the problem with alcohol is when we drink alcohol, most of us is adding, the simple syrups, the sugary um, additives in there, and that's going to make it healthy. Now, another problem with alcohol is the foods that we eat. When we're drinking alcohol, nobody is saying, "I want me a salad now." I'm craving a salad. Nobody says that. When we drink alcohol, we usually crave those oily foods like the catfish, the chicken wings, the more unhealthy foods like the sugary foods, the cupcakes, the candy. We crave those foods. That's another reason why alcohol can be bad to consume. So we're really going to avoid, if we can't avoid, we're going to limit the amount of alcohol that we consume. And yes, that includes wine. I know some people say, wine is healthy. I can drink wine every night. Wine is just grapes. Wine still consumes alcohol. So we're going to reduce the amount of wine we drink as well. And if we can, limit it to weekends. And that doesn't mean just because we limit it to the weekends, we're going to just binge drink. We're not doing that. We're trying to create healthy habits, a healthy relationship that we have with alcohol. And eventually, what we're going to do is we're just going to have it with social gatherings. Now, since I mentioned swapping it out for natural alternatives, some things that people like kava, and of course, with these supplements and other alternatives, you want to consult with a doctor before trying any of these alternatives, before you try any supplements, okay? But a few things that I like, or a lot of my clients like, is things like kava. Kava is really good. Let's see, that's really going to give you the euphoric effect that people actually go for when they consume alcohol. So kava is really good. That's going to help you relax. I like to take 5-HTP. 5-HTP is really good. Ashwagandha is a really good supplement that's going to help you with anxiety levels. There's a lot of different alternatives out there to help you, if you're drinking alcohol for a certain reason. You really want to dive deep. Why am I drinking alcohol? Am I drinking it because I feel stressed? Am I drinking it because it's a habit? Am I drinking it because I feel anxious and it's going to help me feel less anxious, or it's going to help me, interact with others more. You kind of want to dive deep when it comes to things like that. And you're going to see, what is the trigger? Why am I feeling like I need to drink? So say, for instance, because I feel stressed. So if you feel stressed, you want to try other alternatives like stretching at the end of the day. Just, pour into yourself, having time for yourself, take that hot shower, journal. Don't buy alcohol. Don't place it in your house. The easier the access is, the more easier it is for us to drink alcohol. So don't make it harder for ourselves to consume the alcohol by leaving it at the store and only drinking it when we go out. So, like I said, dive deep into why we are needing alcohol and other drugs. Dive deep into those things and replace those with healthy alternatives, because that's going to help us have a healthier lifestyle. Another thing, no late night snacks. So, eating late disrupts digestion and promotes fat stores. So stick to stopping food intake 4 to 5 hours before bed and having balanced meals. And that all ties back into intermittent fasting. And like I said, believe it or not, that really, if we eat right before we sleep, our body is still working. So say we eat an hour before we sleep, our body is not relaxed because our body is still working, it's still digesting our food. And that's why we have problems sleeping. And that's why we wake up so groggy, because our body didn't have time to relax, because we were still digesting that food. If you are feeling hungry and you're having a late night craving, drink some warm lemon water. Have something that's, light on our stomach, because sometimes we may not be hungry. It's just a habit, or we're bored, or we're thirsty. So most of the time when our stomach growls, we think that we're hungry, but we're actually thirsty. So start drinking some water and see how you feel after you drink water. If you are having troubles with stopping, restricting the food before bedtime, at least try to stop 3 hours before bedtime, and then gradually we're going to work our way up to 5 hours. And that's, again, going to tie back into intermittent fasting. So we're going to talk about staying active. Like I said, walking 8,000 steps per day, stretching and avoiding prolonged sitting boosts metabolism and improves digestion. So like I said, if you're working at a desk job, try to stand up from time to time. Try to stand up every 30 minutes, move around a little bit, stretch out a little bit, because actually sitting for a long time is not really healthy. Try to get up if you can walk to the bathroom every now and again. I have an Apple Watch, and when I sit too long, my Apple Watch tells me like, hey, it's time to get up. So if you can invest in an Apple Watch, I know they have other watches out there that's going to help with that. But the Apple Watch tells me, it's time to get up, it's time to walk. And that actually helps me stay motivated. So when we're walking during our breaks, when we're walking to work, when we're walking back, that's actually going to boost our metabolism because we're moving around a lot. And like I said, we're burning those calories the more we walk. Believe it or not, those things will add up, and you will definitely see a huge difference when you start moving around more. Intermittent fasting, like I said, helps regulate hunger hormones, burns stored fat for energy, reduces bloating, and simplifies eating in a caloric deficit. So like I said, when I intermittent fast, when I do that, it helps me not feel more hungry. It actually curbs my appetite. I actually feel like I can go longer, which is why I'm only eating 2 meals a day now. I actually don't eat until 12. I stop eating at 6, and it actually helps me sleep better. So intermittent fasting has a lot of benefits to it. So it's not just with eating, it's actually helping our stress levels. It's helping us, stay hydrated. It's helping us lose weight. Intermittent fasting is an absolute game changer when it comes to losing weight and losing our belly fat. And like I said, our belly fat is what tells us a lot about ourselves. So once we start implementing these things in our lifestyle, we're going to see a huge difference when it comes to losing belly fat. And that's a guarantee. Focus on these things that you see here and make these little small tweaks and these changes, because believe it or not, this is going to make a huge difference in our lifestyle. And this is going to help us stay more healthy. Moving right along to staying motivated and making progress. Okay, moving right along to the next important module, we're going to be talking about staying motivated and ways to make progress. Okay, so staying motivated on your fitness journey requires tracking progress beyond the scale. So me personally, I use a journal. You can buy a journal. You can go ahead and get one off of Google. You can use different ways to track your progress, and that is going to keep you motivated. I noticed a huge spike in my overall fitness when I started tracking my progress, because I was able to look back and say, hey, I hit another PR. I was able to run longer than I did last week, because believe it or not, most of those things go unnoticed. And you really want to celebrate small wins when it comes to things like that. So if you were able to run an extra 30 seconds, that's something to celebrate, because that means you're making big progress when it comes to your fitness journey. So it's always great to journal these things. I want you to go and grab you a journal. Let's start there. Go and grab you a journal. And you're going to say, okay, day 1, I was able to do a modified push-up. And then in 2 weeks, I was able to do 2 push-ups. And when you write that down, you can look back at the past and say, oh my God, look at me 2 weeks ago. I wasn't even able to do a full push-up. And now 2 weeks later, I can do a full push-up. Look at me. And if you didn't have that journal, it's easy to go unnoticed, especially with our daily lives. We're not thinking about that, okay? We're not focused on that. But when we write it down and we actually see the things that we journal in the past, that is what's going to help us mentally, and we're going to celebrate that and feel good about that small win. You can use photos, measurements, the way your clothes fit, strength gains, like I said, hitting a new PR to see real changes beyond the scale. Like I said, I don't use the scale to track my progress, because when you're doing things like body recomp, you're actually building muscle while losing fat. So you can actually stay the same weight for a long time. And that can sometimes make people feel like they're not making progress, and they feel bad about themselves because they're staying the same weight, but you're not noticing like the small changes. Sometimes it's hard to see those changes within yourself because you look at yourself every day. And some people, our friends may not notice those changes, or they may not, tell us, you look good, you're looking more muscular, or you're slimming down. So it's easy for those things to go unnoticed, especially when you're stepping on a scale and using a scale to, track things. I personally used to do that. I used to step on a scale every day. Now I do use the scale to just, track every now and again. I use a scale probably once every 2 weeks, really, but I don't really flip out when I say, oh my God, I gained a pound, because you're strength training, you're gaining muscle, and you're losing the fat. Sometimes you can actually gain weight. So I do not want you to focus on the scale. What I want you to do is put that scale up. We're going to say, forget the scale. We're not using the scale. So we're going to start off with, like I said, taking progress pictures, focus on how we feel. We're going to journal. We're going to use measuring tape. We're going to measure around our belly, and we're going to track our progress that way. We're not using the scale anymore. Throw it away. Throw the scale away. We're not doing it anymore. And this all ties into the next, consistency over perfection. So progress isn't always linear. So focus on staying active, making small adjustments, and avoiding comparison to other. Now, this is so huge. You don't want to look at, your friend or Samantha next door and say, oh, she's been running, for 2 weeks, and she was able to drop, 15 pounds. You know what I'm saying? You never know what that person is doing, how much it took for them to get there, how stressed they might be. You don't want to compare yourself to anybody because everybody's journey is different. You have some people getting plastic surgery, you have AI, you have Photoshop. Most of the things that we're seeing on social media are not real. We don't want to compare ourselves to things that are not real, that'll make us feel down about ourselves. But instead, we're going to appreciate, how beautiful someone looks. We're going to appreciate that, but we're not going to down ourselves and make ourselves feel bad because we don't live up to society's beauty standards, or we're not slim like the next person is. We're going to focus on our goal, because comparing ourselves to others is just going to hold us back even more. That all ties back into what I said. We're going to journal things down. We're going to celebrate our small wins, see where we came from, because like I said, you never know what it took someone to get to where they are. Maybe they got surgery, or not all surgery is bad, so I'm not bashing anybody with surgery or anything like that. I'm just saying you never want to compare yourself, because there's AI out there, there's Photoshop. People are using things like that, so do not compare yourself to anybody. But in turn you're gonna stay consistent. You're gonna focus on consistency and dedication yourself, and you're gonna compare yourself to your past. That's what you can do. Compare yourself, do before and after photos, and compare yourself to yourself, because you're going against is yourself. So mindset and adaptability are key. So break through those plateaus by adjusting workouts, reassessing nutrition, prioritizing sleep, and maintaining a positive long-term mindset. So those things are so important when it goes to, you're breaking through plateaus. If you hit a plateau and you're noticing that you're staying the same now, we're not talking about staying the same as far as weight goes. We're talking about, our measurements are still the same, clothes fit the same, and we're reassessing every 2 to 3 months or something like that. We're not reassessing every week or every 2 weeks, because that's overkill, right? So we're gonna reassess every 2 months, and if we look the same, which I doubt it, especially after this mini course, if we look the same, once we come back and we take a progress photo 2 months later, we're gonna make small adjustments. And there's so many ways to make those adjustments and break through plateaus. We could do things like add an extra set, add an extra rep, just making our workouts a little harder, making them a little longer. We can scale back on our nutrition, restrict a little more. Maybe if we're intermittent fasting, we can go another hour or two between our fasting and eating window. There's a lot of different ways that you can tweak things to get past that plateau. And in turn, that's going to help us maintain a positive mindset. And like I said, your mindset is everything when it comes to anything that you do, not just nutrition, not just fitness. Your mindset is very important. We're going to put all these things, everything that we learned so far today, and these things are really going to help us reach our goals, get that flat belly that we all been dreaming for. All these things that we're going to be doing is going to help you so much. And I promise you, by the end of this, you'll have all the tools that you need to get that flat belly that you've been longing for. You won't have to search anymore. I do tend to babble and babble. So without further ado, we're going to get into the next slide, which is also very important when it comes to losing belly fat. Now, I said this one is going to be so important because we're going to be talking about the myths about losing belly fat. Let's go ahead and get right into it, because I'm all about saving time management. All of these myths here is going to waste our time. We're going to be wasting our money. We're going to be buying things that don't work. We're not doing that no more. We're busy. We have to stay in a budget-friendly options, okay? Believe it or not, the natural way is the way to go. So let's talk about spot reducing belly fat. Doing endless crunches won't specifically burn belly fat. So fat loss happens across the entire body through training, movement, and proper nutrition. So I always get, and I don't blame you, I always get, my clients or potential clients or women come up to me like, hey, I just want to lose my wings. I want to lose my arm fat, lose my belly fat. That's all I want to do. Is there any arm workouts that I can do? Do you have any ab workouts that I can do? And I always tell them, that's not the way to go, because you don't choose where the fat comes off of your body. I know you wish that you can. I wish that I can. Your body actually chooses where to pull fat from. So some people might lose fat in their arms first when they start losing weight. Some people might lose fat first in their stomachs when they start losing weight. And unfortunately, some people might start losing weight first in their butts when they start losing weight. You can't spot reduce belly fat. What you could do is lose fat from all over your body. And for example, if you lose your butt first when you start losing your weight, you could focus on building your glutes, like doing workouts to build your glutes, make your butt appear larger. You could do arm workouts, but when you lose weight from all over your body, that's going to help you look so much better than, losing weight in your arms, and you still have a big stomach or big thighs. It's going to look unnatural. So I'm kind of glad it's impossible to do that, because it kind of look crazy if that was possible. People would be walking around looking crazy and still unhealthy because they just want to lose their arms, but they still have that visceral fat, the unhealthy fat in other parts of their body. Let's talk about waist trainers. I did touch on this in the beginning, and I promised you that we will come back to it. So let's talk about waist trainers and corsets. Most people think that waist trainers and corsets burn belly fat. So these waist trainers only compress your waist temporarily. They don't actually help with fat loss. So reducing overall body fat is the only way to slim your midsection. So let's talk about it. So a lot of people use waist trainers because they feel like that's going to really bring their waist in. Now, I was one of them. I used to wear waist trainers all the time. I swore by it, right? Because when I took it off, I'm just like, oh my God, look at my waist. But actually, what waist trainers do is that it just compresses momentarily. It's like one of those garments that people use. It just compresses, your midsection momentarily. And then the moment you eat, your your midsection just gonna go poof, it's gonna come right back. If you don't believe it, go ahead and try it. But those things can be super unhealthy. But like I said in the beginning, I would use waist trainers just to help me keep my posture right and help me keep my core engaged. And also I use it to help me when I was eating. It helped me to not eat so much. So waist trainers can be healthy in those aspects, but waist trainers don't help you lose belly fat. So if you have a waist trainer, you can still use it to help keep your core engaged. You can still use corsets or a waist trainer to help you keep your posture straight, because some people have postural issues. You can use that for those reasons. If you're going to use those things, I would recommend using a waist trainer over a corset. Corsets could be very, very dangerous for your organs, so I would definitely stay away from corsets or anything that's going to over compress where you can't breathe. That's not going to be healthy, especially if you're working out. If you're working out and you say, your waist trainer is too tight, it's way too tight, I got it on the third hooks and it's way too tight, I can't breathe. You want to make sure that you can breathe during your workout. Having it way too tight is super unhealthy. Just have it where, bearable, like you can manage, you can breathe, you can talk, you can do your workouts while you're using your waist trainer. Don't have it super, super tight. Okay, so we're going to talk about cardio. Some people think more cardio is best, and that's the best way to burn belly fat. And I touched on this in the beginning. Cardio does burn calories, but strength training is more effective for long-term fat loss since it builds muscle and increases metabolism. So when you do cardio, like HIIT training, or you do running, that is going to help you burn more calories in that session. But actually, strength training, while you burn less calories when you strength training is going to help you burn calories even after you're done working out. So like when you're just sitting on the couch after your session, hours and hours and hours throughout the day, hours later, you're still burning calories through that session, because like I said, the more muscle that you have, the more calories you burn. So even if you don't have a lot of muscle, the way strength training works is going to help you increase your metabolism. And in turn, when you increase your metabolism, the more calories and the more fat you burn throughout the day. I really want you to keep that in mind. If you're a cardio queen and someone who loves to just do cardio and think that cardio is the way to go. I'm sweating. Oh my goodness, I'm sweating and I'm losing weight. I'm getting more healthy. You really want to focus on strength training versus cardio. Okay. The more cardio you do, believe it or not, the more muscle you're going to lose. And then in turn, you're going to look skinny fat. So I want it to be a balance. I want you to focus more on strength training. They have different types of strength training. You could do a circuit workout. You can do supersets. There's always ways to make everything you do in fitness more creative. And then after that, you can do a walk. I personally like incline walks, where you can do an incline of 10 at 3.5 miles per hour. There's different ways to like spruce everything up. So I want you to keep that in mind. If you're a cardio queen, reduce the amount of cardio that you're doing, because the more cardio you do, the more stressed your body is, the more cortisol your body is building up. And when you do a lot of cardio, that actually makes you more hungry. So you're going to eat back the calories that you just burned in that session. And it's very easy to eat back calories from the session. Okay. So let's talk about carbs. So many people think carbs cause belly fat. So carbs are essential for energy. And I touched on this before. The key is choosing complex carbs over simple carbs to avoid blood sugar spikes and cravings. So carbs are your friend, carbs are not your enemies. And like I said, you're going to be choosing complex carbs over simple carbs. And your complex carbs are going to be things like bananas, potatoes. There's going to be rice, quinoa, things like that. You're going to be avoiding cookies, candies, soda. And those things are going to give you the sugar spikes. Instead, I know people are soda lovers. I love to drink, what is it called? Fresca. I love Fresca. That's going to be the sparkling soda. I really love those things. It really helps with those cravings. So, like I said, you're going to keep carbs in your diet. Carbs are your friend. And if you have cut off carbs and you are feeling very sluggish and stressed out, like you're yelling at your kids, you're yelling at your spouse, you don't want to talk to your friends anymore. That's why, because you cut off carbs and you cut off your energy source. So your body needs carbs. Do not cut that out. Instead, do swap outs, like swap out for complex carbs. Stop eating the simple carbs. It might be a little hard to cut those things out, so you can do so gradually. But we're slowly just eliminating those simple carbs because our body don't need those simple carbs. We're going to talk about late night snacking. Late night snacking always leads to weight gain. So it's not really about when you eat, it's about how much you eat. Eating nutrient dense foods in moderation won't sabotage your progress, but mindless eating can. So we did talk about late night snacking before and how it's not good. So you absolutely cannot stop late night snacking. What you can do is get something sweet. Like if you enjoy, a sweet treat at night, you can get something like grapes, strawberries. Start off with those things if you absolutely cannot stop snacking. Start off with things like that. But when we're eating things that don't serve our body any purpose, and we're eating things like chips, like our body just wants to eat endlessly, we're going to want more of those foods. So that's going to cause us to eat mindlessly, especially if at night we like to watch movies. We're going to grab for another bag of potato chips, and that is not healthy. So a late night snacking does not necessarily cause the weight gain. It's just about what you're eating and how mindful you are when you are eating those foods. So alcohol doesn't affect belly fat. Alcohol is high in empty calories, slows metabolism, and often leads to poor food choices, making it a major concern to belly fat. So I touched on alcohol before and why when we eat alcohol, we're craving those salty foods, the oily foods. That's the reason why alcohol is bad. So that's the reason why it affects your belly fat. So if you cannot avoid alcohol, I want you to reduce the amount and gradually reduce the amount. Because like I said, I know it's hard for some people to just straight on just cut out the alcohol, because some people might have deep rooted issues and they drink for a reason. So you really want to dive into those issues that you have, and that's going to help you restrict the alcohol, and which in turn is actually going to help you with the belly fat, because like I said, the belly fat it shows a lot about ourselves. So if we have that, beer belly, it's going to show us that we have a lot of visceral fat, and we really want to work on those things. So all in all, reduce the amount of alcohol that you're drinking. And like I said before, yes, even wine, you want to reduce wine, because if we're drinking too much, anything that we abuse is unhealthy. So if we're drinking every day, that's really abusing it. So we want to limit the amount of alcohol that we are drinking. Let's talk about apple cider vinegar. Some people think apple cider vinegar burns belly fat. So while ACV might help with digestion and appetite control, it does not directly burn belly fat. So sustainable weight loss comes from proper diet and exercise. I know a lot of people, I don't mean to laugh, but I know a lot of people say, I'm going to drink some warm water with some apple cider vinegar. Oh my God, I feel it burning my stomach. It's burning the belly fat. But that's not actually true. So some people drink apple cider vinegar to curb their appetite. That actually helps, feel fuller. Like, say if you're drinking apple cider vinegar with water before your meals, that's going to actually help you stay fuller longer, because you're actually filling your stomach up before you eat. But believe it or not, I like to stay away from apple cider vinegar just because it affects the enamel in our teeth. It's very acidic. Apple cider vinegar is very acidic. And that's why people like to take the pills, the apple cider vinegar pills. That does help with overall health, but I like to stay away from ACV. If you are an ACV lover, there are other alternatives like chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is very healthy. And like I said, again, you want to consult with your doctor before you start taking any supplements, but you really want to don't think that ACV is going to help you burn fat, because it doesn't happen that way. Like I said, weight loss comes from proper diet and exercise, okay? So that's our biggest takeaway on the myths. I want you to study these myths, really take these into account, because like I said, these myths are things that are, for one, they're wasting our time. For two, these things are wasting our money. We don't really think about how much money that we're spending on these waist trainers, the apple cider vinegar, all the snacks, all the things that we're doing that's going to waste our time and waste our money. And we did not come to do that, because we are very, very busy people and we're trying to focus on time management. So these are things that we can easily just eliminate. 7 things that you could just eliminate, and that's going to save us so much time. And that's going to help us focus on the other things that are very important when it comes to losing our belly fat, the things that we're going to be talking about today. So all of these things, we can actually cut them out, and let's focus on the things that are very actually important to us when it comes to losing that stubborn belly fat. So we're going to go ahead and move on to chapter 9. We're going to be talking about food intolerances, allergies, and bloating. Okay, so let's talk about it. So your body actually gives you clues, and sometimes we tend to ignore those cues and those clues that our body gives us. Symptoms like bloating, headaches, constipation may indicate a food intolerance, even if you don't have severe allergic reactions. Now let's talk about it, and let's talk about my personal story. I'm a foodie, like I said, I love to eat, and I was just eating everything. I'm just like, I'm not allergic to nothing. I'm not having severe allergic reactions, because some people think that if you're having reactions like, falling out, passing out, having a heart attack, that is going to tell you that you're allergic to foods, but that is actually not true. And I learned that the hard way. Me, I'm allergic to a lot of things. I'm allergic to shellfish. I'm allergic to yeast, baker's yeast, and brewer's yeast. I'm allergic to oats. I'm allergic to a lot of things. So I was actually consuming a lot of those things, and my body was telling me that, these things are not healthy for you, but I was not listening to them, because I was just thinking, it was something else. And I was consuming these foods every day. I was always bloated. I was irritable. I was having headaches. I was having constipation. I was having a lot of issues. The number one thing is I was having troubles losing weight. I cannot lose weight. I cannot figure it out. I was working out so much. I was just putting in a lot of work, and I'm like, why am I so bloated? Why is my belly still big? Why is my belly hard? A lot of those reactions that I was having breakouts. That's another thing that I was having, a lot of breakouts on my face, a lot of pimples, a lot of back knee. I was just always sluggish, tired. I was always, like I said, bloated, especially my upper abdomen was always very hard. I was working out a lot, and I'm just like, why am I bloated? And some days I was just feeling sluggish. I'm like, I don't want to get up to go to the gym, because I don't feel good. And that's actually because I was eating a lot of foods that I was allergic to, and not knowing, because I wasn't having those severe allergic reactions. So one day I just decided to go to the doctor and get a blood draw, and it comes to find out that I was allergic to a lot of foods that I was consuming every single day, but I did not know it because I was not, again, I wasn't having those severe reactions. So I would definitely recommend go getting a blood draw. I would recommend the blood draw. I know they do the needle pricks on your back, but actually doing the blood draw is going to give you a better understanding, and it's going to, help you dive deeper into what you're allergic to. So definitely give that a try. That's something that people don't talk about. Food intolerances and allergies. People don't talk about it. The doctors don't talk about it. The doctors like to give you, I know since I was bloated, they prescribed me with something for like acid reflux and bloating, but they didn't say, hey, you need to, see if there's foods that, you're allergic to. I'm not going to get too deep into that about the money grabs and stuff with the doctor, because I don't dive deep into that. I actually had to do research myself and say, okay, maybe I should just go and get my blood drawn to see if there's food that I'm allergic to, because it was right after I would eat these foods, I would just start feeling bad. And I'm just like, it's something with the foods that I'm eating, because some foods I would have different reactions. My body reacted differently. So definitely go and get your blood drawn. That is a big thing when it comes to losing your belly fat. And that's what actually might be keeping that belly fat on, because I was putting in the most work and my stomach was still big. It was still big. I couldn't lose weight. I was always bloated. Hidden allergies can cause bloating, like I said, fatigue and digestive issues, making weight loss harder. If symptoms persist, medical testing can help identify sensitivities and improve overall health, which I just touched on. It's very important, okay? We don't talk about food intolerances, but that is one of the things that might be holding us back. Like, we're doing all the things that we can, we're eating healthy foods. We're eating broccoli. Some people might be allergic to broccoli, and you may not know that, you can be allergic to these things like fruits and vegetables, but you can be allergic to anything. You can be allergic to eggs, a lot of things that you can be allergic to. And you can say, oh my goodness, I'm eating healthy. Why do I still feel bad? It's because you're allergic to the fruit, or you're allergic to the vegetable, or the protein, the chicken. You're allergic to those things that you are eating, and you're thinking that it's healthy for you, but it's actually serving your body more harm than good. So that's actually important, because we don't want to be putting in something in our bodies that our bodies don't like. Our body is just going to be fighting against us. Gut health is crucial for digestion and weight loss. So eating fiber-rich foods, staying hydrated, and adding probiotics can improve digestion and reduce bloating. So that's very true. Taking probiotics, like I said, chlorophyll and things like that. Consult with your doctor. Again, I love to reiterate that. But those things are really going to help you with digestion, improve your digestion. But with the food intolerances, really cutting back or eliminating, not just cutting back or reducing, we are fully eliminating the foods that we are allergic to. And I promise you, once you eliminate those foods, you will see a huge difference. Okay. I want you to come back to me and tell me what you are allergic to, because many people are allergic to a lot of different things that you may not know. You may have been growing up eating these foods, not knowing that you're allergic to them. But once you cut them back, you will see a huge difference immediately. I noticed when I cut them out, I'll say days later, I wouldn't even say a week later. Immediately, my stomach it just went down tremendously. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's crazy. I wouldn't think the food intolerances or foods that I was eating would have this much of an effect on over my body and my mind. I was easily irritable, headaches, all of that just went away. Like the headaches, couldn't sleep, all of those things just went away. So definitely go and get tested for allergies, because these things are going to be so important. So we're going to go ahead and move on to module number 10, and that's going to be the role of nutrition, what to eat, and what you need to be avoiding if you want to lose that stubborn belly fat. So we touched on it before. We talked about a balanced diet and why it's essential. You want to prioritize your proteins. That's going to help with muscle repair. When you work out, when you weight train, your body actually creates small tears, and your body needs to repair those tears. So when you start eating protein, the more protein you eat, that's going to help your body repair those tears and it's going to grow. So complex carbs, we talk about that. That's going to help you with energy. Healthy fats, hormone function, while minimizing processed and inflammatory foods like refined sugars, trans fats, and excessive alcohol. So those are the things that we're going to limit. We talked about meal timing and portion control and why that matters. So eating protein with every meal, prioritizing fiber and avoiding liquid calories such as soda, Kool-Aid, those, cold drinks. Can help us regulate hunger, digestion, and fat storage. When we are prioritizing protein and we're having protein in every meal, let's say, for example, if we're having our protein, we want to aim for about 40 grams of protein in our breakfast, 40 grams of protein in our lunch, 40 grams of protein in our dinner. We're going to consume about 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body fat. And that depends on your overall goals or your starting weight and things like that. But sometimes I say that 1 gram of protein per pound of body fat is overkill. So let's just aim for 0.8 grams per pound of body fat. And it's very easy to get in that amount of protein every day. So some people might say it's hard, but it's actually very, very easy, especially if you're doing portion sizes and you're making sure your protein is the biggest thing that you're eating on your plate. It's very easy to get that in, and which in turn, that'll help us build muscle, and in turn, that'll help us get that flat belly that we desire and to tone up. Hydration supports metabolism and digestion. So drinking enough water, half your body weight in ounces, improves digestion, boosts metabolism, and aids in fat loss. So I like to drink a gallon a day. Some people can't drink that much, but the reason why you can't drink that much is because you're trying to just down it all at once. But if you're implementing everything that I talked about in the previous modules, like taking drinks before your meals and sipping in between your meals, is very, very easy to get a lot of water in every day. And the more water you drink, the more you'll go to the bathroom, the more you're, urinating out the fat. That's another way that the fat leaves your body, through urination. So the more water you drink, the more it's going to help your body get rid of that unnecessary fat, the visceral fat that we need. And really keep in mind, if you're not really going to the bathroom much, that's going to tell you that you're not drinking enough. And you also want to focus on the color that you're urinating. So if your urine is a dark orange color, that's telling you that you're not drinking enough water. You really want your urine to be a very almost clear color, like a light yellow, very, very light yellow. And that's going to indicate that you're drinking just the perfect amount of water. And since we talk about hydration in the morning, what I want you to do is drink a glass of water instead of reaching for coffee, because we're already super dehydrated in the morning. Since we went like 7-8 hours without drinking anything, when we wake up, we're already super dehydrated. So the first thing that we tend to do is reach for a coffee, and that's actually going to cause us to be more dehydrated. So instead, we're going to drink water. We can add some pink Himalayan salt to our water, or we can drink something like Propel, something with electrolytes, and that's going to help us replenish ourselves and help us get rehydrated in the morning. The first thing that you do when you wake up, I want you to drink electrolytes. I want you to drink something with electrolytes in it. And if you don't have that, drink you some water and add a little sprinkle of pink Himalayan salt. And that's going to help you get rehydrated, and it's going to help you break out of that sluggish feeling that you have in the morning. So first thing you want to do, go ahead and drink you some water early in the morning. So sustainability is key for long-term success. So cooking at home, reading nutrition labels, and enjoying treats in moderation and making mindful choices ensure lasting results. The more you are able to cook at home, me personally, I like to meal prep because I do not like to cook every day, okay? I don't know who likes to cook every day because I don't like doing a lot of dishes. And, cooking come dishes. I don't like doing all of that. So I like to meal prep. I like to store my stuff in the freezer. I want to make sure my meals are lasting me at least 2 to 3 days. I have, cooking videos with different recommendations of things that you can eat on my YouTube channel. Feel free to check that out. I also read nutrition labels. It's very easy to miss dangerous things that you are consuming. So be mindful reading nutrition labels. That actually helped me drop a lot of pounds, actually reading nutrition labels, seeing how many calories is in whatever we're eating, seeing how much protein, fats, carbs, and everything that we're eating, really starting to read nutrition labels. I know at first it can be a little bit overwhelming with reading all the nutrition labels, but eventually over time we start knowing because we are a fan of habit. Like we really eat the same thing, really start to keep in mind all the foods that we're eating. And the more we study the nutrition labels, the more we already know what's in those foods. Also with enjoying treats in moderation. So you definitely don't have to cut things out. Like I said, we only live once. We want to enjoy our lives. Like we don't want to be that one sitting at the dinner table like, oh, I can't have the cake because I'm on a diet. Okay. We're not going to do that. We're going to enjoy, if we're in a social situation, go ahead and have that treat, but make sure you're not overindulging in that cake that you're eating. Have your favorite food, okay? I want you to do that, but don't make it an everyday thing. I'm saying it's okay to eat it in moderation, but instead of having a treat that you have to help you wind down or relax, like you're having a brownie every night with wine, I want you to start with having it every other night and then in turn have it every weekend, okay? Me, myself, I still enjoy the foods that I like. I still am losing weight. I still am building muscle because I am living. I'm not cutting those things out of my life because I'm going to feel restricted. That's going to make me more stressed. That's going to raise my cortisol. Like I said, though, all of those things play a factor. So we're not cutting out the things that we enjoy. Like I said, we're having it in moderation and we're studying nutrition labels. We are also making sure we're not allergic to the foods that we're eating, which is causing us to be bloated. So with that being said, we're making mindful choices and we're ensuring lasting results. Okay. So all of these things that we've talked about today are going to be so beneficial when it comes to losing weight, losing that belly fat, and that's going to get us our dream bodies. Like I said, I deliver all the information that we need today, and I gave you all the tea. We talked about everything that you need. You don't need anything else. Everything that you need to start losing that belly fat, losing that weight, getting that body that you desire and that you deserve is all in these modules. Last but not least, if you want more guidance, if you want more personal guidance, you could feel free to reach out to me, book your consultation. We can go over your nutrition goals. We can make this personal. You can talk to me every day. I'll push you. You'll have more motivation. You'll have that accountability partner because it's just not about burning belly fat. It's about building lean muscle and creating a healthier lifestyle. It's not just the beginning. Some of us need the extra push. And I am here to deliver. I'm always here to deliver. And like I said, I've helped countless women transform their lives and their bodies, especially with me being a busy mom and a mom of four. I know exactly what it's like to feel like you just don't have enough time in your hand. So that's why I'm your personal trainer, Bestie, and I'm going to help you get to those goals because I'm very knowledgeable when it comes to, doing things like this when you don't have a lot of time. You'll get access to detailed nutrition and meal strategies, strength training workouts to reshape your body. You'll have the video guidance. And if you choose one-on-one, you'll have access to work out with me live directly. We'll talk about lifestyle habits to maintain long-term success. And if you already got this mini course, which I'm assuming that's why you're here with me today, if you're a visual learner and you want more information, you want to go ahead and purchase that guide, the flat belly guide. And with that, you're going to have a bonus chapter. I love bonuses. I know you guys love bonuses. That bonus is going to be a 30-day workout plan and a macro tracking guide, a 30-day plan. Okay. That's going to get you on your road to success. So don't miss that. I have a special discount if you go ahead and give that guide as well. That is actually on my website, www.revampingphysics.com. Go ahead and check that out and you can download that. You'll have a special offer if you got this mini course. So you got a lot of bonuses being here with me today and studying, having the mini course to help guide you through. So like I said, if you need more guidance, feel free to reach out to me personally and I'll be so glad to talk to you. But just to wrap it up, I want you to go ahead and take everything that we use today, implement that, and start seeing results, okay? Don't forget to download your checklist. You're definitely going to need that. That's a free checklist that came with the mini course. And like I said, if you need to transform your body, you need that more guidance, go ahead and reach out to me. Thank you so much for joining me for this module today, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. And again, feel free to reach out to me. Don't forget that with this mini course, you have a free Q&A with me, so ask away. You'll be able to ask as many questions as you can think of about losing belly fat if it was something that you didn't understand in this mini course, which I hope that's not the case. But if you just have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me. You'll have a free Q&A with me, and I will be hosting that. Write down all your questions, and I will look forward to talking to you to answer all the questions that you have. I really hope you guys got a lot of information from this mini course. And like I said, I look forward to speaking to you soon. Have a great day.